It's worth it because this is the only place in the US that you can swim with manatees. They have this really beautiful private garden area that you can just sit at in between, like while you're waiting for your appointment if you get there early. And if you love tomatoes and you love martinis, you absolutely have to get their green tomato martini. You're listening to the Coastal with Kelly podcast, your go-to podcast for waterfront travel destinations, coastal living, and ocean-friendly businesses. I'm your host, Kelly Dabrowski. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the podcast. If you are a longtime listener, then you'll see, or if you're watching this on YouTube, I guess, you'll see I'm not in my normal spot. I'm kind of doing a working vacation over the last couple days. So I've been in South Carolina, just exploring Kiawah Island, which I've never stayed here before. So it's been an absolutely phenomenal time. We're just going to dive right in. So this week I wanted to talk a little bit about planning bachelorettes. I'm planning my bachelorette with my sister right now, and I've been fortunate enough to plan a couple bachelorettes now. One, I'm just going to run through to start like 10 tips that I have for planning if you've never planned one before, things that you can think about for your own or if you're going to one soon. And we're going to get into 5 of my favorite coastal destinations that I think would make great bachelorette trips. Some of them I've been to a bachelorette in the location, and then some of them I think would make a fun destination. So I've got my little notes here with my new little phone case. How adorable is this case, by the way? I've been looking for one like this for a long time. First, some tips, right? So 10 tips for planning a bachelorette. So when you're planning one of these events, you have to remember that girls can take a long time to get ready. Mostly because not even that it takes a long time, but we're just having fun, right? Like you want to drink to get ready, you want to hang out with your girlfriends, you want to share makeup tips, you want to, share hair tools, all the things. So I always make sure that there's one bathroom for every 2 to 3 girls on a trip, just to make sure everyone's comfortable and that you have enough time to get ready. Like you just need space. I always try to find a location that's less than an hour from the airport if you can help it. Most of the places I'm going to recommend today fall into that, but not all of them do. Sometimes it's worth it. But for the most part, I recommend less than an hour from the airport because it just makes it easier to travel to and from. I also think you should set dates 4 to 6 months in advance so that people have time to get it on their calendars and also plan ahead for the cost of one of these parties. Because again, if you're traveling somewhere, it just adds into the cost of the trip. I also think that during this, I guess I might end up having more than 10 tips, but while you're doing the planning for this 4 to 6 month period, share your flight info before you actually book so that all of you can try and coordinate flights, because it makes it so much easier when you can have multiple people taking the same transportation, right? If you can load everyone into a car at the same time, that's amazing. And if not, obviously you make it work, but it's just way nicer to have people arrive together so that you don't have everyone coming in at all these different times. I personally like to give the itinerary a minimum of 2 weeks in advance because that gives everyone time to plan their outfits and figure out, just so that they can expect what you're going to be doing. Especially if you're not helping with the planning, it's just nice to have a heads up of what you'll do. You can send it before that, but definitely 2-week minimum so that people can have an easy time packing. When you're thinking about where to stay, before planning these, I used to always think that you were going to end up getting a bunch of hotel rooms, which obviously you can. I think that in certain locations it might make sense, and in certain situations, especially again, like if you're doing like an all-inclusive resort, right? Makes sense to obviously get rooms. But VRBO is my favorite platform to use for looking up these properties. I just find you obviously can use Airbnb too, but I prefer VRBO. When you're booking activities, book activities for just your group, not sharing it. So for example, if you're booking like a tiki boat or something, make sure you book it out for your whole group, even if you don't meet the actual capacity. I just think that you'll have a better time and you're creating more special memories with just your girls. So I think that it's worth every penny. Another thing that I have found helpful in the past is grocery delivery. So if you're not driving to your destination, and especially if you're not renting a car when you get there, it can be super helpful to just have groceries delivered. I did this for a bachelorette when I was staying in Mission Beach, and we didn't need cars. So it was just much easier to have someone just deliver a bunch of food to the house. And on the topic of food, make sure there is enough food. I always find that at bachelorettes, it seems like there's always enough alcohol purchased, but then sometimes it feels like the food can run a little bit low. So I just always make sure that there's, you're obviously going to have different groups. There are people on your trip that will always need a full meal for every meal. There are other people who are more grazers or snackers. So just make sure that you're bringing enough so that everyone feels, they don't have to feel weird about like wanting more food. Everyone needs their energy. Eat on your trip, and be strategic about the itinerary. So I've gone to some bachelorettes where the very first night we ended up going out, having way too much fun. Everyone had a great time. You're tired or not doing well the next day, and then you miss out on having fun on the second day. So if you have the capacity to plan accordingly, try to make the first night really chill so that everyone's just getting to the site, getting to the venue, hanging out, and just kind of connecting, especially if not all the girls know each other. Because I know sometimes you have groups of people that haven't met before and this is the first time they're meeting. So those are just some of my tips from my own experience. Walking around in heels usually isn't on my list when visiting a historic city, but with convertible heels, it changes the game. The heel block can unlock from the shoe, so you can turn these into flats to navigate the city safely. There's a flat cap you can put on, and then put the heel block back on when you get to your destination. Use code KELLYD to save 20% at passionfootwear.com. And now let's get into the destination. So up first is a West Coast destination, Mission Beach, California. So this is about 20 minutes from the San Diego airport. So it is very easy to get a Lyft or an Uber to go from the airport to Mission Beach, which is what we did. This was where we did my sister's bachelorette, and it was so much fun. I would recommend looking for a property near the boardwalk so that you can, one, you have access to great dining, but two, you can truly walk everywhere. And if you are planning this trip, then I really loved going to the Olive Cafe. That was right on the boardwalk or just off the boardwalk. And you can go to Belmont Park, which is an amusement park. So it's just like a fun place to be. You can go there even just to like go and get snacks. Like we didn't ride any rides when we went, but it's just really fun to be there in like the open, you're getting the sea breeze. It's nice and sunny. It was great. It's also close enough that you could always plan a day trip to San Diego and get drinks at Hotel del Coronado. I think that would be like a really fun cocktail hour to go do, arrive at like 4 p.m. and get your drinks early. And then, you can just make a night of it and stay in San Diego. Because it's a waterfront destination, there's also obviously fun things like booze cruises or paddle pubs. We went to Mission Beach in March, which the weather was fine. It was like the air temperature was amazing. The water was still cold though. So just keep that in mind if you're planning for certain types of year. I would just look up the weather ahead of time to kind of plan it for when it'll be really nice to go. My next recommendation comes from a recent bachelorette that I was on, and the location is Kiawah Island, South Carolina. So this is 40 minutes from the Charleston airport. So I would recommend having a rental car for this destination, especially because Ubers are not a thing here. We were trying to go to the Tattooed Moose, and it was going to be like 45-minute wait for a place that was only 20 minutes away from where we were staying. So we were fortunate to have a rental car. So we did end up just driving. Just to keep that in mind, that this location, that you're not really going to get an Uber. So definitely rent a car if you're going to do Kiawah. So you can find rentals in the villas. So Kiawah is a private community. It's the Kiawah Island Golf Resort area. So you can get a rental property and then you'll get a pass to get into the community, which will give you access to things like the sanctuary. So not that you won't have all the amenities that you have as a guest, but you can get to like the beach that's near the sanctuary. You can explore the bike trails that are on the property. You can also rent bikes from the sanctuary, which is really fun. So that's actually where I am now recording this, and I've had such a phenomenal time. It's been really beautiful. Even though you're staying on Kiawah, and if you do rent a car, I would recommend driving to the Dunlin spa, which is called Astor, and doing a relaxing spa day. That's what we did for the Bachelorette I was just on. And it was life-changing. This spa was the most beautiful I've ever been to. The massage itself was the best massage I've ever had in my life. I did the lavender massage because I love lavender. They have a little bit of shopping right at the front of the spa. And then when you walk in, they have changing rooms, obviously, with like a shower, and they have hair tools and stuff. So you can get ready for like dinner out or cocktails at the hotel bar right after your massage appointment. And they have this really beautiful private garden area that you can just sit at in between, like while you're waiting for your appointment if you get there early. They also have a dry sauna, which I didn't end up using because I went and got lunch instead while I was waiting for my appointment, but it was just stunning. It was a really perfect way to just hang out with your friends and relax. And afterwards, I would recommend going to Lynette's, which is a restaurant at the Dunlin. And if you love tomatoes and you love martinis, you absolutely have to get their green tomato martini. It was one of those things that like caught my eye, and I was like, I don't know, this sounds a little bit funky, but it seems fun, so I'm going to try it. It's like a summer garden in a glass, and it was incredible. It's so, so good. And then another thing that you can do on Kiawah is go to Fresh Fields, which is like an open air market. You can it's like an open air mall essentially, because there's a bunch of stores. They do have a lawn where they host events, so you might be able to catch live music there. There's also some really great like cafes. So at Cafe Eugenia, they have a phenomenal brown butter chocolate chip cookie that I got, and they also had a great blood orange espresso tonic, which was a really fun drink. So just a really cute cafe. You can also buy bottles of wine there, other little trinkets. But they have just a ton of shops in this area, so highly recommend going there. And it's just a perfect way to kind of round out your trip. So definitely recommend Kiawah. It's been so relaxing and so nice. just blissful. It's been great. I highly recommend it.
I always look and feel my best after I've spent about 3 days in the ocean, and when I can't make it there, I reach for Osea. Their key ingredients are sourced from the ocean, so after using their luxurious products, you end up feeling like you just got back from a seaside spa. If you're also excited to support a women-founded, ocean-positive brand, use code CWK10 to save at checkout.
The next location is more if you are looking for a true beach weekend. Ocean City, New Jersey is a place that I've gone to two bachelorettes now. So for Ocean City, New Jersey, you'll fly into the Atlantic City International Airport if you're flying. But this is also a great location if you're doing a driving distance from the DMV. It's perfect. It was I want to say it took us 3.5 hours. It is a dry town. So if you want to be able to drink any wine or anything at the house that you're staying at, you'll have to get that ahead of time and bring it in, or you'll just have to drive over the bridge to get to the next town over to be able to purchase alcohol. So just keep that in mind. If you do want to plan a night out, you'll have to go to one of the neighboring towns as well. You can go to Avalon for dinner and dancing options. So this, again, it's truly perfect for you if you want a full beach weekend. Just keep in mind that you do have to have passes to go to the beach at Ocean City during peak season, but most rental houses will have these passes available for you. Just keep in mind, sometimes they don't have enough for your group, so you might have to buy more of the day passes versus season passes. So just look into that before you head there. But there's a lot of really great spots to grab lunch and grab coffee there. Some of my favorites recently closed, so I was going to make recommendations that don't exist anymore. But hopefully I'll go back this summer and then can give some updates, and especially on the boardwalk. I think it's kind of underrated. Personally, I love a morning beach walk, a boardwalk stroll. So for me, it's kind of ideal. But the boardwalk there is super long, similar to what I was saying about Mission Beach. They have amusement park rides that you can do. They also have just fun food that you can get. So if you kind of want the nostalgia experience of getting Dairy Queen and going on a ride and, stuff like that, it's really fun. So this one is probably going to surprise some people, but Crystal River, Florida, I think would be a phenomenal bachelorette location for my nature girls. It's far from the airport. You're not going to be able to find one less than at least an hour drive. But you have 3 options. So you could fly into Tampa, Orlando, or Gainesville, and then you'll drive again about an hour and a half to get to Crystal River. But it's worth it because this is the only place in the US that you can swim with manatees. So you'll just book a charter to be able to do this. They'll give you a little quick overview snorkel lesson, how to appropriately be near the manatees to make sure that you're not interfering with their space, but that they can swim up to you and kind of interact with you. It's just really cool. If you've never done it before, you should do this trip regardless. I have a bunch of content about it, but it would be super fun for a bachelorette party to just hang out with your girls and see the springs. The springs are beautiful. It's this crystal clear blue water, perfect for viewing the manatees. And they are there more so in the winter. Manatees live there in the springs full time, but winter is when you have a crazy amount of manatees in there because the springs are at it's about 72 degrees. So it's much warmer than the Gulf is in the winter. So great for a winter bachelorette party. But it is also, that's the peak tourist season. So just keep that in mind. But it would be incredible. So beyond the manatees, though, you also could just book a kayaking trip to paddle on the spring. So I'll link a couple recommendations for both of those charters down below in the show notes. But that would be really fun too, just starting your morning with kayak rentals. You can grab coffee from Cattle Dog Coffee Roasters, which is really great coffee. And then even beyond just being on the water, also just exploring the town of Crystal River. So it's pretty small, but their downtown area is very cute. They have a bunch of fun dining options. They have shopping. They also obviously have rentals like VRBOs. They also have some hotels. There's a new hotel that opened in the last year. I think a little over a year ago it opened. And that's more it tended to be an eco lodge. So you could even do kayak rentals directly from that location. I have not stayed there yet, but it's on my list to go check it out to report back. So hopefully one day I'll get to go there, but I'll link that down below as well. And then if you are looking to still get to the beach, there is a more local option called Fort Island Beach, which would be, it's a bit smaller, but it still would give you access to the ocean. But if you're looking for a different kind of trip and you want to make the long haul drive, driving an hour and a half, hour 45 to get to a different beach, you could definitely go to either Clearwater Beach, you could go to Tampa Bay, you could go all the way to St. Pete. All of those I think would make a great kind of day trip, but I still think it's worth going to Crystal River. So again, you also could flip-flop it. You could end up staying in Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater area, and then do one day trip to Crystal River. So you can flip-flop it however you want, but I think that's an underrated destination, especially if you're looking for more of a chill bachelorette where you just want to hang out and just see something new that you haven't done before. So my last recommendation is Annapolis, Maryland. So this is only 30 minutes from BWI, so it's great to be able to easily get there if anyone is flying in. I'm biased because I've lived in Annapolis before, I've worked in Annapolis before, but I think it's great for anyone who loves a little nautical themed bachelorette, not fully beachy, but kind of the, more sailor-esque So this would really be fun if you have like a bride who's dating someone in the Navy, right? Like this could be a perfect fit. They have a lot of fun things that you can do. You can always charter a sailboat to go boat around for the day. I also really recommend some of the restaurants in town have phenomenal oysters. I always love to recommend Sailor Oyster Bar, and I only order crab cakes if I'm in Maryland because Maryland crab cakes are the best crab cakes. And so I would recommend getting some Maryland style crab cakes while you're in town. There's a bunch of great places in Annapolis that you can get those at. I would recommend looking for a property that is near Main Street because then you can walk to everything. You obviously could take an Uber from BWI to Annapolis. I still think that it would be helpful to have a car, but parking can be a nightmare in Annapolis. So in the downtown area at least. So maybe you will just want to Uber or try to rent just one car to get there. But the main street is where you'll find a lot of the shops. I always like starting my day going to a cafe. I highly recommend going to Brown Mustache Coffee because it's a coffee shop slash bookshop. So it's just a fun place to go, especially if you are planning to have like, maybe you get a property that has a pool for your rental and you want to read a book, but maybe you forgot it. Perfect place to go just to stock up on your books, but it's really fun. And that was my quick overview of some of these Bachelorette locations. I would love to hear if you've been to them before, if you have any additional thoughts about where you think brides should be going. And especially if you have any recommendations for New England, I would love to hear your thoughts because I'm surprisingly have not been to any bachelorettes up in New England yet. Happy planning. If you're a bride to be, let me know. I can't wait to talk to you next Thursday.